son. Where'd you find this?
Just do it! Make your dreams come true!
A few moments later.
You are now listening to Podcast 42, the world's most popular, inaccurate, and sometimes squirreled retelling of pop culture history.
The Knights of Ren?
Phasma, the most hyped, non-existent character ever.
Boba Fett for a new generation.
Yeah, really, truly, but not as Boba Fett-y.
But then,
as... excited.
Yeah, because there's not a no disintegrations line in there to make you really go, I like this character.
Or a cool jetpack.
Yeah.
Oh, but that was the thing. It was the jetpack that got him. If it hadn't been for his jetpack, he would still be alive.
That's true.
Because, he wouldn't have been like, Snorlax pit.
Well, to not sound like Faraz in all knowledge of Star Wars, but the book of Boba Fett, he gets out of the Sarlacc pit.
Oh.
Dangar
and in all
saves
comic
him.
books that came out after, he does get out too.
But then they quashed that after they started us again.
Well, speaking of jetpacks, it's time for Podcast 42. I'm Christopher DeVos.
I'm James Duncan.
And I'm J.L. Tros.
Let's open up that beer cooler.
JL Beer Cooler, it's cooler than you think. JL Beer Cooler, it's cool enough to drink. It's cool enough to drink, yeah.
Oh, I brought some Sam Adams this week. Sam 76. Because when you drink, you got to drink with a patriot and a brewer.
Well, I just took my first sip, and this will be an interesting review at the end.
So is it the winning Super Bowl beer that we're having?
I don't know. Did the beer and Super Bowl take place in 1776? Because I think this is more of an independent ale type thing that they're going for.
I was going to say, I think we gave you your country then, but who knows?
I feel like a redneck when I drink it out of a can. I feel like
Would you
I
like
should
me to
be
get you a
sitting,
koozie?
like a good old boy. Like I should be sitting in the back of a truck.
You mean we're not in the back of the truck this week?
No, we're not in the back of the truck, and I
Nope.
should be...
We're going to an El Camino.
Then the sun should be going down, and I should be just... My mullet should be flowing in the breeze.
Or reenacting the opening sequence of King of the Hill.
Standing outside on the curb.
Standing outside by the curb, drinking a can of
I
beer.
think of the theme tune. I can see the video, but
Yeah,
I can't think of the song.
I'm at the same point right now.
It's funny because you said King of the Hill. I watch Futurama all afternoon, so I don't know what this has to do with that.
I just look forward to the end after I drink the beer and I
That's
crush
fine.
the can
That's
like
fine.
a
I brought
Superman.
you craft beer. It's 4.7 ABV. It's in a can, just how you like it.
At first taste, it's delicious.
Very,
And that's all I'm going to say.
Very citrusy. But we'll talk more at the end, so if you're interested in what we think, stay tuned to the end. This week is my pick for topic.
What did you pick?
I picked Pink Floyd.
Who's that?
The guy from the Pink Panther?
He's a guy who walked around London and played really long songs.
Oh, so he's a streaker.
So Pink Floyd has a huge history, and I kind of wanted to keep it to an hour, so we are going to skip over some things. So Pink Floyd has a big fan base, and if you're listening to the show and you're like, they didn't talk about that, is because I didn't want to do a 5-part episode. Because you could do 5 parts on Pink Floyd easily.
There's that much history?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's huge history. Huge history. This band went through many changes, many fights, many different styles.
Many women.
I would hope so.
Did they? I don't know if they were known for...
You don't have to be known for it. If you're in a
No.
rock band in the 70s or whatever, 80s, I think it just goes without saying.
Late 60s, early 70s
Yeah.
is when they first appeared. So the band Pink Floyd is named after the Delta bluesmen Pink Anderson and Floyd Council and was formed in 1965. The main members at the time were Roger Syd Barrett on guitar and lead vocals, Roger Waters on bass and vocals, Nick Mason on drums, and Wick White.
The Chinese keyboard player.
Wick White. I've now turned into
Yes, it's happened.
into Andy Rooney in Breakfast at Tiffany's. Rick Wright on keyboards and vocals. Their sound can be described as psychedelic rock with flowy physiological lyrics, instrumental experimentation, and extended musical composition.
Wow, way to give yourself some tongue twisters there.
How did you not give that to me? That was all my script.
Hold on, wait a minute. I just read this wrong. That says that's James's part to read.
Oh, yeah, I was supposed to give you that part. The band was inducted into the American Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1996 and the UK Music Hall of Fame in 2005. Why is the UK so far behind?
I have a real question on this one.
Yeah.
Why is the UK Hall of Fame taking longer than the American Hall of Fame on inducting
That's what I
them?
just asked.
I believe our Hall of Fame was initiated in the early 2000s because it was.
Why did you not have one earlier? I mean,
because we had all the fame anyway, so we didn't. We were like, what's the point in having one? We're all the Americans. It's all us anyway. So.
It was for a long time. Yeah, you would think you would have honorees. I mean, you only had like the biggest band in the entire world.
The Rolling Stones.
Yeah. the other Beatles.
Queen.
Keep going, English bands. We could go here we could do an hour
really
just mentioning
could.
English bands over and over.
But you didn't have John Cougar Mellencamp. That's all us.
That's fine. Bruce Springsteen was better than him anyways.
Pink Floyd has 16 gold albums, 13 platinum ones, and 10 multi-platinum ones. Two of their albums, The Wall and The Dark Side of the Moon,
my favorite,
are two of the best-selling albums of all time, sitting alongside of the Eagles, Michael Jackson, Billy Joel, and AC/DC. They have 3 albums in the top 100 best-selling ever: Dark Side of the Moon, The Wall, and Wish You Were Here. And Wish You Were Here is actually my favorite. They are the 9th best-selling artist ever, selling over 52.6 million records, back when people used to buy records. Dark Side was on the Billboard Top 200 or 2000. It both works.
Yes.
Because they were up there. They were up there in 2000 and 200 album charts for a record 736 weeks. It also has a record for the most consecutive weeks with over 500.
So Roger Waters and Nick Mason met while they were both studying architecture at the London Polytechnic.
Because when I think music, I think architecture.
I believe the London Polytechnic is Islington, but I don't know. It changes a lot, so I'm not sure. Actually, no, that's on the one on the riverbank. They first played music together in the group called Sigma 6. Waters played lead guitar, Mason played drums, and Wright played rhythm guitar, even though Wright is a keyboard player. So he played the keyboard now, but then he played guitar then.
Yes, there's a reason.
Yes, but there was rarely an available keyboard, probably because they were expensive. The band mostly played private functions and rehearsed in a tea room in the basement of a Regent Street Polytechnic. They covered songs by The Searchers and played original material written by their manager and fellow student Ken Chapman.
What's funny is, and this is only going to be funny to me, but the fact that Pink Floyd couldn't haul a keyboard around because they couldn't find one is funny, because Depeche Mode went the opposite way and couldn't haul drums around, so they went with a drum machine, but they had keyboards. 76 keyboards.
Yeah, they have one. Yeah. So maybe you should combine the bands, is what you're telling us. And then one can carry the keyboards, the other one can carry the drums.
That would probably be a very impressive show to watch.
Yeah. Depeche Floyd.
Depeche Floyd?
Pink Mode.
Yeah. Pink Mode. They're going to do Gay Pride next year.
I'll go watch that show. It'll be a good one.
Yeah.
Then in September of 1963, Waters and Mason moved into a flat near Crouch End in London. Mason decided to move out after the 1964 academic year, and guitarist Bob Close moved in. This prompted Roger Waters to switch to bass instead of guitar. Sigma 6 would go through several name changes, including the Megadeths. Yeah, yeah, they're awesome. The Abdabs and the Screaming Abdabs.
Wait. I don't like Abdabs. What should we call ourselves?
I'm going to scream
I think we should go with another one, like Leonard's Lodgers, or, here's my favorite, the Spectrum 5, before they finally settled on calling themselves the T-Set.
That's so British.
I want to go and see the T-Set tonight. That's so cool.
I'll only see him at 3 o'clock.
When do you play? Tea time. In 1964, a couple members left to form their own band because they didn't like Tea Time, because basically the band was going nowhere. Then guitarist Syd Barrett joined. Barrett, who was 2 years younger than everyone else, had moved to London in 1962 to study in the Camberwell College of Arts. Waters and Barrett were actually old childhood friends.
Waters said of Barrett, Syd lived like he walked. He walked with a bounce. Every step he took was like a pop. He had a lot of Tigger in him.
That's what she said.
It's true. That's an actual quote. Mason said about Barrett, in a period when everyone was being cool in a very adolescent, self-conscious way, Syd was unfashionably outgoing. My enduring memory of our first encounter is the fact that he bothered to come up and introduce himself to me. Which is the weirdest quote I think I've ever heard.
Actually, today I had one of those introduction moments today where I introduced myself to someone. Because I sat down in one of the sandwich stores near my house because I wanted a sandwich for lunch, and this old guy just came and sat with me whilst I was waiting for my to-go order. So being polite, I said, "Hey, how are you?" And he just looked at me and went, "Okay."
And that was it?
That was it. And I was like, I'm going to turn away now because you made it awkward by sitting with me, but then I made it awkward by saying hello. No.
Right. No, you should have just sat in silence on your phones. Moving on. Singer Chris Dennis took over frontman duties in late 1963 when they secured their first recording time at his studio in West Hampstead. One of Wright's friends got them the studio time during some downtime between other bands' recordings. Wright, who was taking a break from his studies, actually did not participate in the session. Dennis left in early 1965, leaving Barrett to become the band's frontman. Later that year, they would become the resident band at the Countdown Club near Kensington High Street in London. Is this all bringing back memories? You know these places?
Well, most of the colleges no longer exist. But yeah, Kensington High Street, yes.
Okay.
I don't know where the Countdown Club is, but Kensington High Street, yes.
It's on Kensington High Street.
Not anymore, it's not.
Oh, okay. They played from late night until early morning, 3 sets lasting 90 minutes each. It was here the band realized that to minimize song repetition, they could just extend the current songs with lengthy solos.
I wonder if that has a future. Bob Close, after pressure from his parents, quit the band in mid-1965.
He probably hates his parents
Yeah,
today.
like, you cost me $8 bajillion.
Yeah.
This allowed Syd Barrett to take over lead guitar. Along with this lineup change, the group started referring to themselves as the Pink Floyd Sound. Barrett created the name because he found out another band also called the T-Set were performing at one of their gigs. That's hilarious.
Come see the T-Set. Open for the T-Set.
The bigger T-Set. We have spoons. By 1966, the Pink Floyd Sound set consisted mostly of rhythm and blues songs. It was also at this time they had begun to receive paid bookings, including a performance at the Marquee Club in 1966. That was a very famous year in England. Do you know why?
Why?
We won the World Cup.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's the
I remember
last
that.
time you won it?
Yeah, the only time we won it. So, but it's a very important year. This is where Peter Jenner, a lecturer from the South, words are tough. This is where Peter Jenner, a lecturer at the London School of Economics, noticed them. Jenner was impressed by the sonic effects Barrett and Wright created, and with his business partner Andrew King became their manager. Jenner and King had little experience in the music industry. They used King's inheritance to set it up in Black Hill Enterprises, purchasing about £1,000 worth of new instruments and equipment for the band.
Oh, I meant to ask you before we started recording. That 1,000 had the little L next to it, where I took it from. Is that for pounds? What is that?
No, that's obviously a really bad...
That little L thingy.
The pound symbol?
Is that the pound symbol? I can't remember.
The pound symbol is like a... Not an L, it's like a 6 with little hashtags through it.
Oh, no, this had like an L with some lines through it.
Lira? I don't know, 1,000...
I don't know.
I
We'll
guess
go with pounds.
But £1,000, so that's $1,500 worth of music, $1,500 worth of music equipment in 1966, which is about $30 million now. Jenner suggested they drop the sound part of their band name just to be called the Pink Floyd. Soon the group became one of London's growing underground music scene, playing at venues like All Saints Hall and the Marquee. It was a performance at the Countdown Club that brought the band to experiment with the rudimentary but effective light shows. Projected by colored slides, this allowed the band to be purposely devoid of personality, not talk much, and just hide in lights.
I did watch an early performance of Pink Floyd on YouTube, and it was basically you could not see them. All you could see was lights, and you'd see like shadows, and there'd just be blast of music coming from the stage, and lights in your face. That's
it's funny. It's 40 years on, it still carries on. There's bands that do that. They just do light shows.
Yeah,
you basically watch the screen and just like... there's the Australian band now that I can't even think what they're called, but they just, honestly, they turn up, they put on this massive screen, and you watch that, and they're in the darkness.
Yeah.
So.
You know who does that a lot, where it's really dark and you just see everything else? Tool. The heavy metal, like, progressive rock band. Yeah, they do that, because when I went to see them, this Maynard was all the way in the back, and they had the instruments in the front, essentially, because they're like, oh, it's about the music. So you could see some of the members, but for the most part, it was a bunch of, like, smoke and lights and stuff on the screen.
Well, Floyd is the innovator of all of that.
The Sunday Times reviewed one of their shows, writing
that at the launching of the new magazine, the other night, a pop group called The Pink Floyd played throbbing music while a series of bizarre colored shapes flashed on a huge screen behind them, apparently very psychedelic.
Man.
groovy, baby.
Groovy. By late 1966, their sets started dropping the R&B covers and started containing more of Syd Barrett's twisted but brilliant originals. They were getting more and more performances, however the band was not widely accepted. One show at a Catholic youth club...
Which sounds hilarious that they played at a Catholic youth club.
Had the owner refusing to pay them, claiming that their performance was not music. When their management filed suit in a small claims court against the owner, a local magistrate upheld the owner's decision. Really?
We're not going to pay you. You're very bad at music.
Wow. Pink Floyd was better received at clubs like the UFO Club in London. It was here they started to build a fan base. In 1967, Pink Floyd finally began to attract the attention of big music companies. UFO Club manager Joe Boyd and Pink Floyd's booking agent Brian Morrison arranged and funded a recording session at Sound Techniques in West Hampstead. You know where that is, James?
West Hampstead?
Yeah.
Not where that club is, no.
It's east of Hampstead.
No. Actually, I think it's on the east of London. We like to do that and confuse you.
Yeah.
Because if you, like, for instance, our soccer team, West Ham, they're actually in East Ham. So that makes sense.
No.
Exactly. That's why we got you.
I am so confused right now. But hey, 3 days later, Pink Floyd signed with EMI, the same label that the Beatles were signed on at that time. EMI released the band's first single, Arnold Lane, with the B-side, Candy and a Cramp Bun. Really? On March 10th, 1967. Arnold Lane's references to cross-dressing led to a ban by several radio stations. Yes! I love when that happens.
Yes. When you cross-dress, yes.
I do, actually, but I love bands on radio stations, too.
I'm cross-dressed right now.
I would take a picture, but I don't want to. The single still peaked in the UK at number 20.
The band was nervous about the music business and their old style of managers they had. The music companies were said to hire anything with long hair and thought Pink Floyd to be a pop band. They wanted lots of 3-minute singles, and Pink Floyd pretty much told them, no way. Also, with the release of the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, it kind of changed the record company's idea of what music would sell. So EMI appointed Norman Smith, the Beatles' engineer, as Floyd's producer. Barrett would bring songs to Smith, who would tell him to tighten up the format, to which Barrett would bring back the same song but played in an entirely different way. Not exactly the direction Smith was asking. Barrett and Smith would butt heads over most of the recording. Pink Floyd was determined to use every bit of recording experimentation that EMI could produce. For example, they would run recording tape around 3 microphone stands in order to create echo effects. You have to remember, this is 1960, so we don't have all the digital...
Also, do you know how they got away with a lot of the Beatles started the trend for the music not being 3 minutes? basically they released a song that was 5.5 minutes, but on the LP they wrote down it was 3 minutes because they didn't want to change the song.
Oh, yeah?
And then they just gave it, and the record company didn't bother listening to it, and it came out 5.5 minutes. So that was the progression away from the 3-minute pop song.
Yeah.
Really random history fact.
Well, without that, Pink Floyd wouldn't have been able to do what they did.
And nor would Queen and other bands of the future who would play for 4 hours, and you'd be like, huh, the song's still going? American Pie. How long's that original one?
Oh, yeah, that's
It's
long.
about 9 minutes, yeah.
But I just find it funny that Pink Floyd had to wrap tape around microphones to get a certain effect, and I can do that with my cell phone right now.
Yeah. The world we live in.
Yeah.
Oh, the future. It's scary out there, kids. After much back and forth between Smith and Barrett, EMI was able to release Pink Floyd's second single, See Emily Play, on June 16, 1967. It fared slightly better than Arnold Lane, rising to number 6 in the UK. The band performed on the BBC's Look of the Week, and also Top of the Pops, a popular program that controversially required artists to mime their singing and playing. Pink Floyd were returned for 2 more performances, but by their third, Barrett had begun to unravel. Barrett had started using LSD and was becoming distant. He would disappear for days and perform entire shows in a catatonic state. So Top of the Pops was like our MTV, but just for like half an hour.
Okay. Like
So
American Bandstand.
Yes,
every week, and you see them come on, and it was hilarious, but it then had...
Amazingly, Casey Kasem hosted theirs also.
It's always...
And Dick Clark.
Well, we had this guy called Jimmy Savile, and that's all I need to say. If you Google that, you kind of,
Yeah, you brought him up before. I know who he is.
Yeah.
They had to take down his statue.
Yep.
The Piper at the Gates of Dawn was to be Pink Floyd's first release recorded at Abbey Road Studios. This was recorded at the same time the Beatles were recording Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. The album was written almost entirely by Syd Barrett. The album was named after the title of a chapter in Kenneth Grahame's children's novel, The Wind in the Willows, a reference to the Greek god Pan. Nick Mason recalled that the sessions were trouble-free, but others disagreed as Barrett was unresponsive to suggestions and constructive criticism.
He's just standing catonic in the corner.
What do you think? EMI released The Piper at the Gates of Dawn in August of 1967, where it peaked at number 6, spending 14 weeks on the charts in the UK.
Pink Floyd continued to draw large crowds at the UFO Club. In the documentary, I watched the documentary, I think they pronounced that as UFO or something weird like that.
UFO?
Yeah.
Oh.
It was a British documentary, so I'm sure they were pronouncing it right. But we can just go with UFO. Barrett's mental breakdown was by then causing serious concern. The group initially hoped that his erratic behavior would be a passing phase. Jenner once had commented, "I found Barrett in the dressing room, and he was so gone. Roger Waters and I got him to his feet, and we got him out to the stage. The band started to play, and Syd just stood there. He had his guitar around his neck, and his arms just hanging down." That was a joy.
Pink Floyd was forced to cancel appearances at the prestigious National Jazz and Blues Festival, as well as several other shows. King told the music press that Barrett was suffering from something, but I have to turn the page. Too many pages. Hang on. This is fun. Sticky fingers time. From nervous exhaustion. That's what he was suffering from. Can I claim that? Nervous exhaustion? Is that
yes.
Okay.
The next time I need to go on vacation, I'm going to say I have nervous exhaustion.
That means you're nervous because you're exhausted?
Yes. Or you're nervous that you think you might be exhausted.
Or you're nervous that you're going to become exhausted.
Or are you exhausted because you're nervous?
I don't know. I'm so confused.
All I know is I'm getting exhausted from being nervous about what's going to happen next.
Roger Waters arranged a meeting with a psychiatrist, R.D. Lang. He sounds like a Marvel character, R.D. Lang. His secret.
Have you met his sister, Katie Lang?
And he even drove Barrett personally to the appointment, but Barrett refused to come out the car. The band kept a few concert dates in Europe during September and then went on their first tour in the US in October. As the US tour went on, Barrett got steadily worse. During appearances on the Dick Clark Show and the Pat Boone Show in November, Barrett confounded his host by not responding to questions and staring off into space, and even refused to move his lips when it came to time to mime. See Emily Plains on Boone's show. I'm guessing there was the video on YouTube available for that one.
I didn't know. I didn't look for that.
Okay, but that could be kind of interesting to see.
That would be interesting.
Just I'm not going to mime. I'm just going to stand here.
Yeah, and everyone's seeing the words and the music go, and this guy's just standing there,
like
not
I don't
moving.
care. It was soon after that King ended the U.S. visit and immediately sent them home to London. Barrett's depression worsened on a tour with Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix. Wow, I just murdered Jimi Hendrix's name. It reached a crisis.
You just murdered Jimi Hendrix.
No, I didn't shoot the sheriff. Oh, no, that was the other one. That was
Eric Clapton.
Yeah. It reached crisis point in December, leaving Pink Floyd to add fellow Cambridge schoolmate David Gilmour.
So just to put this in perspective, your main songwriter and lead
Singer,
lead
guitar player
is whacked out, and you've spent 3 or 4 years finally getting a record deal, and this guy is
just gone
messing it up. Ugh. I feel their pain.
I know. Because basically, Barrett was taking too many drugs, and with the success of See Emily Play, was beginning to crack. Gilmour had met Barrett already, having studied with him at Cambridge Tech in the early 60s, and they had even hitchhiked their way around the south of France. Gilmour was shocked to see how his longtime friend looked, with his glazed eyes and alarmingly ashy skin. Black Hill Enterprises announced Gilmour as the band's newest member. Barrett would stay on as a non-performing songwriter.
By the way, when I walked into the studio today, I was kind of alarmed by your glazed eyes and your ashy skin.
Oh, I shouldn't have had that second highlight. Jenner said the idea was that Dave would cover for Barrett's eccentricities, and when that got to be not workable, Syd was just going to write just to try to keep him involved in everything else.
Because the record company was also freaked out by Syd, because he was the one who was putting out the singles for Pink Floyd. He was the one making Pink Floyd the money at the time. At first, Gilmour felt lost and embarrassed that he was stepping into Barrett's role in Barrett's band. But soon the whole band started to gel and form a new cohesive sound. To protest this, Barrett penned the song Have You Got It Yet?, intentionally changing the structure on each performance so as to make the song impossible to follow and learn. Working with Barrett eventually became too difficult, and in January, while en route to a performance in Southampton, they left Barrett behind. Waters later said, "He was our friend, but most of the time we now wanted to strangle him." In early March 1968, Barrett agreed to leave. After Barrett's departure, songwriting and creative direction fell mostly on Waters.
I wonder what kind of percentage he agreed to, or even if he was that smart.
Barrett?
If he was taking that many drugs, I can't see him being that smart.
I don't think he got anything.
Just like, bye, thanks for playing.
Pretty much.
Barrett went on to release 2 haunting solo albums in 1970. The Madcap Laughs and the Barrett, both albums.
Barrett was the name of the second album.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that sounds just confusing if you didn't know.
The Madcap Laughs and Barrett. That
Yes,
was
those are the two albums.
Okay.
Yeah.
Both albums had to be completed with David Gilmour's help. Syd then retreated to his family's home in Cambridge. With the expectation of a few rare sightings in London, that is where he lived for the rest of his life. He died on July 7th, 2006, of complications of diabetes at the age of 60. Barrett never married, nor did his family ever disclose the full details of mental descent of Barrett's health. David Gilmour has been quoted as saying, "Syd's story is romanticized by people who don't know it." Did you just get sticky fingers?
I did. I'm glad you noticed, because I was totally just going to say sticky fingers.
That's the name of Rolling Stones. We're talking Pink Floyd.
Oh, sorry.
Rolling Stones album.
One time in 1975, as Pink Floyd was in the middle of mixing the song Shine On You Crazy Diamond, a song that was a tribute to Syd Barrett, a plump, disheveled man with a shaved head and eyebrows walked in and made himself at home. No one knew who it was, at least not at first, until they all realized it was Syd. If anyone else told me this story, Gilmour said, I'd find it hard to believe that you could sit there with someone in a small room for hours with a close friend of yours for years and years and not be able to recognize him. Waters said that he broke down in tears at the sight of Barrett, a man in his 30s, looking like he was in his 60s. Syd at one point stood up and asked when did he put his guitar on, and Waters replied with, "Sorry, Syd, the guitar's all done."
Oh, Syd. In 1969, as the first men were walking on the moon, Pink Floyd was playing live on the BBC to the images coming back from space. The music was completely improvised. Floyd would then go back into the studio to try to write singles. Without Barrett, they found it impossible, so they did what they did best and wrote long, improvised pieces. Over the next 5 years, Floyd would release 6 albums. A Saucer Full of Secrets, which contained the last music that was written by Barrett, More, a soundtrack album, Ugogamunga. Ugogamumma.
That's a Nicole line.
Which is named after a slang term for sex. Adam Hart Mother, which was originally going to be named The Amazing Pudding. It's a good thing they changed the name.
What do you think this song should be named?
Adam Hart Mother is one of their more famous albums, too.
I will
Metal.
always know it as
What?
The Amazing Pudding from
Yes.
now on.
Pudding.
Metal, which contains the only song in the Pink Floyd catalog that has Nick Mason taking lead vocals, and Obscured by Clouds, which is another soundtrack.
When you're done listening to this, here is something else you can sink your ear holes into.
Ladies, we all know the best part of the day is when you finally get home and get rid of the one thing you've been dreaming of ditching for hours, your bra. If you're like me, sometimes you don't even make it to the front door. Hi, I'm Erin Whitehead, host of the Braless podcast, where once a week I kick back, relax, and have fun conversations with different guests about all kinds of topics. You can find us on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. Join me on the Braless podcast, Unhooked and Unleashed.
Then came Pink Floyd's 8th album, which nobody knows about. Very rare to find it, Dark Side of the Moon.
Never heard of it.
No, there's not any famous images like posters of that.
No, nowhere. It's hard to find a copy even today.
Yeah. I think every album was a step towards the dark side of the moon, Wright said. We were learning all the time the techniques of the recording, and our writing was getting better. The band wrote the record with the expectation that you might listen to the album in a quiet, dark room, and perhaps in an altered state. What does altered state mean?
That means you have to you have to listen to the album and watch the movie Altered States.
Uh-huh. Every song was recorded on the same reel of a 16-track master tape. And even though it was 10 separate songs, it was designed to interweave the flow together as a one experience.
Sticky fingers.
The way one track flowed into another was extremely important part of the overfill, which I agree with as well. And said the engineer, Alan Parsons. I wonder who this Alan Parsons could be. The same Alan Parsons that would go on to form the Alan Parsons Project. So we could work on the transitions as part of the recording process rather than just part of the mixing process.
What was the Alan Parsons Project song? Because I keep thinking of Steve Miller Band for some reason when I read his name.
The Alan Parsons Project was a project in Austin Powers 2.
That doesn't answer my question. That doesn't answer my question at all.
Sorry, I just turned it. No, I can't think of the top of my head.
What was a big song?
I don't know. I'll look it up.
The Alan Parsons. Do you not remember that part with Dr. Evil?
No, I don't remember.
I'm going to call it the Death Star, and then the Alan Parsons Project.
They walked in, or
no? He was just giving names to projects.
Oh, okay.
And he was like,
"Eye in the Sky."
That's it.
The eye
in the sky
keeps on
looking at
turning.
fools. No,
What was that in there?
I can see you blind or fly or something. I am the maker of something.
You are
Dreaming of fools. Ooh.
The maker of this
That's a
show.
visual.
It goes something like that.
Okay.
Oh, is it my turn?
It is.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
'cause
please stop me from singing. 'Cause I can't sing.
I was enjoying it, really.
I am the eye in the sky.
Which David Gilmour then said, the idea of going around to somebody else's flat or house and sitting around a comfy room and having a really good hi-fi system and listening to a whole album all the way through, then chatting for a few minutes, then maybe putting on another album on. Does that happen today?
No.
It'd be really cool if it did, though. Maybe we should have one of those parties.
No. Everybody would be in their phone.
Yeah, we're gonna.
I will play an album entirely on my phone. It's the last Muse album, but it'll be entirely on my phone.
But are you going to be doing other things, or are you going to be listening to the album?
Yes, he's gonna.
I will probably be listening to the album.
He's gonna do a naked interpretive dance.
Yes.
Because that's not what people do anymore.
I know. The concept for Dark Side developed from a meeting at Mason's house in 1971. Waters wanted to write a set of cohesive songs about the pressures of life, such as mortality, travel, money, and madness. And now I have their whole catalog going through my head of songs that I know.
Now I'm thinking of Muse, Madness.
This would be the first time Roger Waters would take the helm as a solo lyricist. I never rated myself terribly highly in the lyrics department, said Gilmour. And Roger wanted to do it. I think it was a sense of relief that he was willing to do that. At the same time, him being the lyricist and more of the driving force that didn't ever mean that he ought to be in full charge of the direction of the musical side of things. So we've always had a little bit of tension in those sort of areas.
And it begins for Pink Floyd. The tension being that Gilmour is the dominant performer as lead guitar and lead vocalist, while Waters was the backbone of the band in melody and lyrics. Waters' vocals will be more forthcoming in later albums, but he only sings on 2 songs on Dark Side. I remember being prodded to be uncomfortable, Waters says. My memory is David and Rick were at great pains to point out how I couldn't sing and how I was tone deaf. And then there's this bollocks that Rick has to tune my bass.
Sounds like our band.
Which,
you're always fixing my mic and telling me how tone deaf I am.
Now, I am a Pink Floyd fan. I do like Pink Floyd, but I kind of agree Roger Waters does not have a great singing voice. Not at all. But it works for Pink Floyd. Hypnosis. It's hypnosis with a G in the middle of it.
Hypnosis.
I am so glad you figured that out because I'm still looking at that trying to figure out how you got hypnosis out of that.
There's this company that designed the record's iconic cover of Dark Side of the Moon, and this hip and gnosis with a G in the middle of it, so it's unpronounceable. They designed that cover, which included George Hardy's refracting prism design. The album cover featured a beam of white light representing unity passing through a prism, which represents society. The resulting refracted beam of colored light symbolizes unity diffracted, leaving an absence of unity.
That's deep, man.
Man, you went all the way there.
Yeah, it's a black cover with a triangle and some lights on it.
Yep.
It's deep, man. I can't wait for the laser light show.
Released in March 1973, the LP became an instant chart success in the UK and was also a critical success. The album is one of the most commercially successful rock albums of all time.
So for the next album, Pink Floyd did not want to do Dark Side 2 and decided to try a new direction. With a record they had titled Household Objects. It would feature noises made by brooms, hammers, and rubber bands rather than conventional instruments.
They were going to title it Phantom Menace, but they changed that.
Yes. I've always felt that the differentiation between the sound effect and music is a load of shit, Waters said. Whether you make a sound of a guitar or a water tap is irrelevant. Now, if you're looking to add household objects to your Floyd collection, don't. The project was scrapped. Although a sampling of singing wine glasses would make its way to the song Shine on Your... Shine on Your Face. Yes. It would make its way into the song Shine on You Crazy Diamond.
Shine on Your Face is a rare B-side.
It seemed like a good idea at the time, Waters said, but it didn't come together, probably because we needed to stop for a bit.
I don't know. I think we could make that album happen.
Yeah, we can hit beer cans. We can have the beer can solo.
Money!
Well, they actually did spend weeks and weeks and weeks recording those sounds just to try to get them instrument-like. They wasted like 4 weeks of time doing this.
And I don't think any drugs were involved.
Yeah, they tapped the beer cans and they were like, how I wish you were beer.
Well, they would tap the beer cans for hours until they achieved such a sound, and they scrapped everything.
That's too bad. Because next came the recording of the album, Wish You Were Here. The band's success had started to get to the members. Roger was getting crosser. We were all getting older. There was much more drama between us, said Mason. Tensions between Waters and Gilmour were at its peak as they were decided in what direction Wish You Were Here was going to go. Mason would try to act as the pacifier during most recording sessions. Waters even joked later that the album should have been titled Wish You Weren't Here.
That's awesome.
Because the members of the band eventually worked on different parts of the albums, all separately. A little knowledge to lay on your Pink Floyd loving friends is that in the song Have a Cigar, it is sung by English folk singer Roy Harper, even though most people think it's Roger Waters. This was because both Waters and Gilmour could not successfully convey the record producer voice they wanted. The album would go on to be another #1 all around the world for the band.
Now, when I learned that, because Wish You Were Here is actually my favorite Pink Floyd album, I always thought Have a Cigar was sung by Roger Waters as well. But if you
Was it tone deaf?
Yeah, it was tone deaf. But if you go back and listen to it now that you have that knowledge dropped on you, you're like, that doesn't sound like Roger Waters at all. But for the last 20 years, I thought that was Roger Waters singing that. So did everyone, and it actually makes Roger Waters very angry.
And goes, oh, yeah, it wasn't me.
No, it wasn't me.
Stop claiming they did stuff that I didn't do. Not my work.
The next album was still recorded with Gilmour and Waters at odds with each other. This was the album titled Animals. The album would produce one of Pink Floyd's most iconic visual items to appear at its live shows. You're about to have an orgasm. What's going on?
Yes. Because I remember this. Because I learned it on The Simpsons.
Yes.
you know what I'm talking about. Simpsons?
Yeah, The Simpsons.
Talked about animals from Pink Floyd?
No.
Keep going.
Just keep going.
The iconic theme from the live show would be that of Algie the Flying Pig. Is that what they talked about?
Yes, because it was when Homer went on Lollapalooza, and Peter Frampton was part of it, and
So far, I'm not getting what this is going.
They do this
Pink
whole
Floyd.
thing where Frampton shoots off the flying pig, and he's like, "Oh, I got that at Pink Floyd's garage sale."
Go, yeah.
Okay.
It was there. It was a long walk up, but yeah.
Woo! We made it full circle. The album cover featured the Battersea Power Station. Did I say that right?
Yes, Battersea.
Okay, Battersea.
It's near Chelsea.
That's exactly how James Hetfield from Metallica would say battery.
Battersea.
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 It had Algie the pig flying over it. Instead of creating this image with photography tricks, they actually had a 30-foot inflatable pig made. For the photo shoot, they hired 14 photographers and a marksman to shoot down Aggie if she accidentally got loose. That's awesome.
My flying pig got loose. Can somebody shoot it down?
Somebody get the flying pig handler.
Well, it's a good thing he didn't get shot down because that pig is iconic for Pink Floyd. At the shows, even before I ever saw Pink Floyd in concert, I knew about that damn pig. In 1977, at the end of the Animals tour, there was a fan up front of a particular concert who would not stop yelling while Waters was trying to sing. Waters beckoned the kid closer to the stage and then spat on him. Waters was
like, come
was
here,
that kid you?
No, I wasn't born yet. Sorry, but it's a great idea now.
You weren't born in 1977?
No.
No?
No.
Ugh, feeling old. Waters was shocked at his actions and then started to realize he's feeling a disconnect with the audience. He would end up asking himself over and over again, is there anybody out there? From this spitball, there would be born the album all about gloom and alienation and the death of Waters' father called The Wall.
Never heard of this one.
No, this one is a rarity.
Another rarity.
Yeah,
Dark Side of the Moon and The Wall. If you can find a copy of that, let us know.
bargain bin.
Exactly. Even though The Wall has some of the most famous songs Floyd has ever put out, such as Another Brick in the Wall, Part 2.
What's Part 1 like?
I don't know. I
It's
think
the same thing.
It's just the brick getting more hit on. That's when they use that sound effects.
Oh, okay.
No.
Chris is like, no, you're lying.
It's like a smaller...
It sounded convincing enough for me. I was going to go with it.
It's the same song, but it's like a smaller...
Playtime?
Yeah, it's like an interlude. It's all instrumental.
Yeah, it leads up to it. They feed one into the other, don't they?
I think there's that one, and then there's another song, and then that one.
Yeah.
But somebody's screaming at me that I'm wrong, so I'm sure I'm wrong, but yeah.
Come to Be Numb, Mother, and Hey You. The album is actually meant to be an experience as a whole unit. The story behind the album is a rock star who might be named Pink, Mr. Floyd, or even Simon, who has a breakdown in some repressive society. The rock star had grown up fatherless in some post-war Britain-type place. He built a wall between himself and everyone around him, including his teachers, his wife, and his manager. While recording, the turmoil grew to such heights in the band that Waters fired keyboardist Wright. Neither Wright or Mason got any credit on the album of The Wall. I didn't know that.
So, did Mason get fired also, or just Wright?
Just right. Now,
So why would Mason not get credit?
Because he was being a dick.
Because Waters was a dick at the time. He was like, this is me. This is all me.
This is my work.
Thing about The Wall is I did wear this CD out.
Wasn't it a double CD?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a double CD, but I was working as a seeder at Red Lobster, and you know how many hours I had to put in to buy this damn CD?
How many?
Like 80 hours of work.
That's a lot.
It was a lot, but I played that CD to death.
Oh, I still can't believe... Really?
But this is back when CDs were first coming out, too, so they were more expensive than they were later.
No, I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just trying to think of you at Red Lobster as a seater.
Yeah, I was a seater. I was a good seater.
Yeah?
I was a good assigner.
Another
I didn't play
table.
favorites.
So, while Chris was listening to all of his Pink Floyd and everything like that as a seater,
Why does that shock you so much?
it just makes me laugh that,
Then I went to the back of the house.
I know.
I peeled shrimp for 8 hours a day.
Shrimp?
No wonder
Did
you
you
were
make
able to
grits
listen
too?
to this album the entire time because Waters composed The Wall alone in his home studio. Good. A nice, long album for Chris to listen to. In an interview with Mojo in 1999, Wright said about The Wall, "Oh no, here we go again. It's all about the war, about Waters' mother, about his father. I'd hope he'd get through all of this and eventually he could deal with other stuff, but he had a fixation. Floyd was under pressure at the time to produce another album, plus they were on the verge of bankruptcy.
I wonder what they did to get themselves in such financial trouble.
Drugs.
No,
Lots of drugs.
you got like lots of different spoons, and spoons are very expensive. So when you buy 8 million spoons and try to line them up to make music,
The water bill for when they were making their water album was a lot, too.
Yeah.
Another quote from Wright stated, "Possibly, if we were not in this financial situation, we might have said, well, we didn't like the songs, and things might have been different. But Roger had this material. Dave and I didn't have any, so we'll do it."
That's crazy.
yeah.
The band recorded in London, France, and Los Angeles over the next year, but the project clearly had Waters in charge.
That just boggles my mind that they didn't like it, and then there's like, oh, we'll just do it. And it's like one of the greatest albums of all time. We no longer pretended to be a group. In the 70s, we used to all pretend that we were a group, but of course that wasn't true. That was a quote from somebody, but I didn't write who it was a quote from.
We'll say it was David Gilmour.
Comfortably Numb would be Gilmour's last collaboration with Waters. The song would be the only uplift on an album that was entirely downbeat. The Wall was released at the same time as Michael Jackson's Off the Wall and was an immediate pop success. Another Brick in the Wall would stay at number 1 for 4 weeks straight. The stage production of The Wall was grand, using monster puppets, masks, animation, and a giant wall. The wall was 160 feet wide and 30 feet tall, and was built gradually throughout the show, and then tore down at the finale. The tour program read, The Wall, written and directed by Roger Waters, performed by Pink Floyd.
It will be
Wow,
mine.
could the ego get any bigger?
Yes.
Now, one thing about The Wall is it's true. If you listen it from song 1 all the way to the end, you can follow a story. It's very clear. Except for me personally, one song doesn't fit in the whole album. And I don't care what anybody says, but Dirty Woman. I think that song's out of place.
Okay, I can see it, but then
I mean, I
I'm
understand.
trying to place them all in a list in my head, so it's kind of like
Like in the movie, if you watch the Pink Floyd The Wall, the movie, it kind of fits because it's like the groupies backstage of the main guys, like the rock and roll singer, and you got the groupies, and they're all having sex with the security guards and everything. But if you didn't watch the movie and you just listen to the album, Dirty Woman never fit in the rest of the album for me personally.
Doesn't that go against everything that they were trying to do album-wise for it to be how it flowed?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would disagree with me. They're like, "Oh no, that fits in the story well." It just seemed like that song seemed out of place to me. Just my own little personal nonsensical take.
Chris just mentioned, director Alan Parker would turn The Wall into a film starring Bob Geldof. Do you know who Bob Geldof is?
Yeah, we did a show on him.
I know, but I'm asking JL.
Who?
Exactly. He's another year. Do you know it's Christmas time?
Don't Let the Bells End?
No, that was The Darkness. There was almost no spoken dialogue and no appearance by Pink Floyd in the movie. Waters credits making of the movie film from his divorce in 1975. In 2010, Waters would take The Wall back on tour, but without any of the Pink Floyd members because they didn't like him
And
anymore.
I feel like he's done that every year for the past it'll be going on 8 years.
Yeah.
Because there's always the thing where you're like, oh, Pink Floyd are going to reform and do one more, and
Yeah, because he seems to find a member of the band to show up. It's like, here, we're going to bring so-and-so on tour with me while I do this album.
Yeah, he had a bunch of big names going on one time with him. Like the Scorpions were on there once. You know who else was in The Wall, the movie? Bob Hoskins.
Really?
Yeah.
Stop it.
From Who Framed Roger Rabbit. He was
Really?
he was the manager, the Pink's manager.
Moving forward to 1987. I was alive at this point, Chris, but only by like
Me too.
two years. So
Okay.
I was 4.
I don't want to know that.
moving forward, in 1987, Gilmour and Wright and Mason are playing arenas and using old props like the pig, and Roger Waters is touring his Radio KAOS album.
No, you said it right.
Chaos.
The first time.
Yeah,
Radio
basically.
Chaos.
I don't know that one.
I love Radio Chaos. It's really good. Yeah.
I personally liked Radio Clash.
I really like Radio Gaga, but while adding songs like he originally sung like Money from the Dark Side of the Moon, Waters had left the group in 1980 and was now suing Gilmour, Wright, and Mason over the name because he wanted the name because the Roger Waters band didn't work. Gilmour and company called Waters an arrogant, dictatorial, ignomatic, hungry for all the credit, and a rewards man. Waters says Gilmour and the company are the lazy, greedy bastards hacking out records to build a retirement nest egg.
They should have just renamed the band the T-Set again, that's all.
Yeah, unfortunately, the other band, the T-Set, had a lawsuit against them to make sure they couldn't do that again.
Oh, that's a shame.
The screaming T-Sets, though, they could have become.
Oh, the T-Set project, or the T-Set sound.
T-Set and Biscuits.
Soggy Biscuit.
That would have been a good one. Waters publicly insisted that Pink Floyd would not reunite. He wanted to discuss settling future royalty payments and fired longtime manager Steve O'Rourke. O'Rourke informed Mason and Gilmour, which angered Waters.
Which is, what else is he going to do?
I'm angry again! You fired me. Piss off. I'm going to tell them everything. Waters wrote to EMI in Columbia announcing he had left the band and asked them to release him from his contract. Gilmour believed that Waters left to destroy Pink Floyd. Waters later stated that by not making new albums, Pink Floyd would be in breach of contract, which would suggest that royalty payments would not be made and that the other band members had forced him from the group. Waters insisted that he did give O'Rourke 6 months' notice of his termination, as was in his contract. O'Rourke says he was terminated illegally. Waters offered Gilmour and Mason a series of deals that let them have the name Pink Floyd if they ratified his dismissal of O'Rourke. Waters was taking a gamble that Gilmour and Mason would not use the Pink Floyd name. O'Rourke planned to sue Waters.
Now, I believe O'Rourke. I think he probably was fired illegally. I'm sure Waters just went, screw you.
Reading all this, I think that might be true.
Yeah. Roger Waters said, I'm Roger Waters of the T-Set, and you're fired. Fired. Waters told the other members of Pink Floyd, if those papers come through my door, we all go to court. I'm not going to be hung out to dry in court for years and years while you guys are calling yourself Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
Damn it. Waters did just that and went to high court in an effort to dissolve the band and prevent the use of the Pink Floyd name. It's like High Court, Supreme Court?
Yes.
Lawyers discovered that the partnership had never been formally confirmed, so Waters returned to the High Court in an attempt to obtain a veto over further use of the band's name. Gilmour responded by issuing a press release affirming that Pink Floyd would continue to exist and said, Roger's a dog in the manger and I'm going to fight him. In 2013, Rogers stated that he regretted the lawsuit, saying, I was wrong. Of course I was.
But on July 2nd, 2005, Waters, Gilmour, Mason, and Wright performed together as Pink Floyd for the first time in more than 24 years. Hang on, I'm trying to do the math. Was I 24 in 2000? I was.
I don't want to hear your age. Just keep reading.
No, but now I'm just like...
I was 22 in 2005.
I wasn't even born in 2005, so I don't want to hear it.
Hold on, I just realized who Bob Geldof was and where we talked about him.
Oh, I thought you were being sarcastic.
No, I was really like, oh, wow, we are the world now.
Okay, Nicole.
She's not here. Somebody had to fill in. Hi, Nicole's mom.
Bob Geldof arranged the reunion, having called Mason earlier in the year. Geldof wanted the band for Live Aid. Geldof asked Gilmour, who turned down the offer, but then asked Mason to intercede on his behalf.
You know, if Geldof really wanted it, why didn't he just go to his best friend Bono? He did everything for him. Why not
have Bono ask Pink Floyd to reunite?
Yeah.
They're an Irish band. They're not going to ask
It doesn't
a British
matter. The
band
power
to
of
reunite.
Bono. Look what he does.
Bob Geldof doesn't like Mondays, so that's the problem.
Mason
That
declined,
was the cure.
but contacted Waters, who was enthusiastic about the idea. I wonder why. Maybe he was broke. Waters then called Geldof to discuss the event, scheduled it to take place in 1 month. Waters then called Gilmour, and they came to an agreement.
At the beginning of their performance of Wish You Were Here, Waters said to the audience, it is quite emotional standing up here with these guys, these three guys after all these years, standing to be counted with the rest of you. We're doing this for everyone who's not here, and particularly, of course, for Syd. At the end of the show, Gilmour thanked the audience and started to walk off the stage. Waters called him back, and the band shared a group hug. Waters said that there are almost 20 years of animosity. I don't think any of us came out of the years from 85 with any credit. It was a bad, negative time, and I regret my part in that negativity.
Now, if you can find the video of their performance at Live Aid, it is pretty spectacular. and you can see the end, and you see Gilmour walk off, and you see Waters call him back. But the group hug, not so much. It's mostly Waters like being, yes, this is great, and the rest of the band's like, yeah, we're just gonna keep doing our own thing. You can shove off. Wright died of cancer on September 15, 2008, at the age of 65. Gilmour said, in the welter of arguments about who or what was Pink Floyd, Rick's enormous input was frequently forgotten. He was gentle, unassuming, and private, but his soulful voice and playing were vital, magical components of our most recognized Pink Floyd sound. Which is true, because when you think of Pink Floyd, you think of Gilmour's voice, and you think of that guitar, but that keyboard behind the guitar really puts their sound to something different. I don't think he got enough credit for that band. A week after Wright's death, Gilmour performed Remember a Day from A Saucer Full of Secrets, written and originally sung by Wright. Gilmour stated that The Endless River is Pink Floyd's last album, which I did not know that. It's an album I don't like, but maybe I'll like it better now.
When did that album come out?
It's been a while. It came out, it was like... Was
that in the 90s?
I don't remember, but the name was... Like the last three albums, Division Bell, the one before that was the one where they did it without Waters. And that's when all the suing started to happen. And then the Division Bell, and then I think that one was the last album, but it's been a long time.
Well, it was released in 2014.
Oh, okay.
But they recorded it over the course of like 68, 93, and 2013.
Oh, okay. So I guess it hasn't been that long. It's only like 3 years. But it really didn't do anything. Like, it didn't really make an impact like the rest of the albums did. Gilmour is quoted as saying, "I think we have successfully commandeered the best of what there is. It's a shame, but this is the end." There was no tour to support the album, as Gilmour felt it was kind of impossible without Wright. In August of 2015, Gilmour restated that Pink Floyd was done, and that to reunite without Wright would just be wrong.
So, was Wright like the heart and soul of the band, essentially?
I don't know if he was the heart and soul of the band.
But then after all those years of BS, like going around, surely you just go, we're done. Let's just walk away.
Yeah.
Because you think, that's I think the major bands, and it's always the English bands. I mean, I know other bands here in the US have their problems, but you look at like the Lennon-McCartney kind of argument as well, like the
Oasis.
Remorse. Yeah, the Oasis. Even Blur had their problems, and they're the smaller ones, but there's just
Blur still really hasn't gotten back together. Like,
no, they were in mix mash of kind of Gorillaz.
Yeah,
and stuff,
like
so.
the singer's been doing Gorillaz for how long?
Yeah, and I mean it's just that, and I think it's such a shame. But as I think I think Pink Floyd are a very underrated band still, though, to this day.
You think they're underrated?
I still think they are. I think they get overlooked a lot of the time.
Do you think?
I really do. I think in the personas of kind of like of popular music and people who always reference stuff, you always hear, oh, it sounds like Elf, it sounds like the Beatles. You never hear anything say like, oh, but then like bringing back Floyd kind of to the whole.
I don't think anyone could sound like them though.
I think there's been tribute-esque stuff that's gone on, but they're very unique. But then I just think they get kind of still they don't get the love as much as they should do.
Oh.
I don't know. Maybe in the over 5-minute songs that we have now is their unsung moment and everything like that.
Well, they had some songs that lasted the entire side of an album. They had 23, 38-minute songs sometimes.
But then I like the idea. I think we're going to host one of those parts. We're going to turn the lights off, dim them down. We're going to get some beer from JL's beer cooler. And then we're going to put on an album and listen to it all the way through without cell phones being available.
We're going to listen to Snoop Dogg album?
Yes. That'll
Can it be his first album?
It's got to be one of these prog rock albums, though. It's got to be like Pink Floyd or early Genesis or something like that. Something that's just plays continuously.
Coheed and Cambria.
No, I never listened to
But
that.
then, the only person who I'm now like...
See, I like Coheed and Cambria. It's a great mixture of, like, Rush and Iron Maiden. So it's, like, the power of Iron Maiden with, like, the vocals, like, the high-pitched vocals of Geddy Lee.
Really?
And the only artist I can think that's told a story in the last 20 years through their songs has been Eminem. Because some of his albums go all the way through. They tell a story. And I think...
And it truly hits where he is at every moment.
Yeah.
Like,
so now I'm like, it's really racking my brain. Has there been another album out there that has followed, like...
Yeah, Queensryche did a concept album.
Operation Mindcrime, 1, 2, 3.
Other people have done it.
You know, Tool's been saying for years, because again, there's another one, progressive, like, for me, progressive metal. I love progressive metal. You get the instrumental and usually great overall albums.
Yeah.
Tool has been saying for the past 2 years they have a new album coming out. They're saying this is the year. I could totally just sit back and listen to them. That could be a good one to do for that party because you'll get the music, you'll get everything.
I was never a big Tool fan.
No?
No. I mean, they're okay. And then get into them. They got a hardcore fan following.
They do.
Well, we should rate the beer.
I agree.
What is it again?
Sam 76.
It was citrusy.
Yeah, it was.
Yes. It was not what I was expecting when I took the first sip.
It was delicious.
I liked it.
Very crisp. Like, I mean, it says refreshing, flavorful craft. It was a very crisp taste. Very smooth, I thought, too, like with the citrus in there.
I'm giving the label a 3, and I'm giving the beer a 4.
So, Sam Adams do one of my favorite draft ones this time of year, the Cold Snap.
Cold Snap is awesome.
Oh, the
Yeah.
Belgian White.
Yeah, but this one's really good as well. I think this is up there with one of my favorite Sams. I like the Boston Lager. That's one of my favorites if I can't find anything, and that's there. But I'm going to give this... I'm going to give it a 6 because I could drink the whole lot of it and be very happy.
Yeah, honestly, I have to agree with James. I would totally rate this a 6. I could easily kill off a 6-pack of this, no problem. Great taste. The ABV's not terribly high with a 4.7.
And it's, I mean, I don't know, we've never really mentioned the IBUs, but it's a 12, so it's got like a little bit of flavor.
Well,
like, that's it.
How often do you ever really see IBUs listed on anything? It's like one of those new things where everybody's like, oh, let's talk about the bitterness units.
But no, it's a good beer.
It's just the strong citrus flavor at the end that's killing the 6 rating for me. But it's still a very good beer.
Is it just a limited release?
I don't know. I found this at the store. It was a buy one, get one deal. So I don't know if it's going to be one of those special seasonal ones that they do that it could come out like every once in a while, or if this is going to be a new like year-round kind of like where you have to find it in a certain way, like their cherry wheat or Boston ale.
Yeah.
Cherry wheat was actually how I fell in love with Sam Adams, because somebody like when I first moved here said, oh, try this one, and I was like, this is interesting, and I was like, I went through all of their beers, and I always like their Christmas variety pack. That's always one of my favorite ones to pick up.
Yeah, I'm big Sam Adams seasonal, whatever the seasonal one is. I haven't tried the cherry wheat. I'm not a cherry person.
It's sweet, but
it's sweet, and it's just one of those ones, if you like a wheatier beer, it's a very good balance.
Yeah.
But they did good. What else,
Is it
Sam?
sweet like sweet?
Or sweet.
I was going for like an Ashton Kutcher type vibe, but
Dude.
it didn't work. I think it was more of creepy.
So guess what? I'm going to play the role of Nicole on emails this week.
Ooh.
I was going to ask you if you saw any movies before you read an email.
Day After Tomorrow.
That sounds familiar. That's a
I
disaster
know that movie. It's
isn't
a
it?
Roland Emmerich, Dean Devlin thing. I
Jake
believe.
Gyllenhaal and
Emmy Rossum.
and the guy that just died, and I can't remember his name again.
So is it a disaster movie? Or
Dennis Quaid's in it.
Dennis Quaid, yes. It was, it was good. And actually, do you know what? Visually, it stood up really well, because it's 10 years old, or maybe even 12
It's
years
about 13 years old.
Yeah, and it was a good. I sat
It's
there.
about 14 years old.
It's older than Chris, and it was. I think that one. I think I can give that a good, safe 8 crumpets, because I sat there and enjoyed it. And
What's it about?
the end of the world. Basically, the Ice Age comes back.
I think
My
I've seen
favorite
that.
part of that entire movie is that everybody comes to Florida because everything freezes and they're all running to Florida. Like Florida just stays Florida.
Does that one have a scene with the Statue of Liberty, just the flames sticking out of the ground?
Yes.
Covered.
Yes.
And everything else
That's
covered
the cover
in
of the
snow?
movie.
Yeah, where everything's covered in ice.
Yeah.
Maybe I haven't seen it. Maybe I've only seen the cover.
But then that one, and then there was another one that I tried to watch, because I sent you all the message of the movie one night from Amazon Prime that I was trying to watch, and I can't remember the title of it, but I watched maybe 5 minutes of it because it scared me.
It.
No, I don't know what it was called, but it scared. I'll go and find
It was called It.
No, it didn't scare
Billy
me.
Madison.
No, I like Adam Sandler.
No, the only Adam Sandler movie that ever scared him was Going Overboard.
No, Jack and Jill.
Oh, yeah, that was scary.
That's available to watch on all the things right now.
Because it's scary.
Yeah, people are handing that out free, that movie. You can go anywhere and somebody will hand you a copy of that movie for free.
Maybe go to McDonald's. They'll give it to you in the Happy Meal.
It comes in a Happy Meal now.
So, Steve emailed us. What did you guys... well, no, he didn't say that. He said, what did you guys think of this year's Royal Rumble? Well, I didn't watch it, Steve. I'm sorry to tell you.
I think only JL watched it.
But I did enjoy
It's very disappointing because I did send pictures of every costume change that I did to Chris.
Yes.
And he collaged them.
Yes, and that's on the website.
The collage.
I really liked the men's Royal Rumble. I liked who won it. The women's Rumble, it kind of upset me because the person who won it, they've been shoving down your throats nonstop, and she's just going to get a title shot anyways. Asuka.
I thought was Ronda Rousey turn up?
Yes, that was my next point.
Is she a wrestler now?
Ronda Rousey showed up right at the end, like right as they were like, oh, who's Asuka going to pick to face? And Ronda Rousey shows up, and it just kind of ruined the moment. Like, it ended like it's like, oh, hey, here, you won the inaugural Women's Rumble, but hey, we're going to overshadow it by showing that we just brought Ronda Rousey in.
And she's a big draw.
It is, but it just, I don't know, it just kind of took away from everything that had happened 2 minutes prior.
That's classic WWE, though.
Yeah, it's still...
Although, you know what I did watch this week from the WWE? I watched some of the clips from Raw 25.
Yeah.
And I think, they're celebrating 25 years. My highlight was definitely Austin coming back and doing the Stone Cold Stunner.
I wasn't old enough to know
McMahon
who
and everything.
Stone Cold Steve Austin was.
No.
I wasn't old enough.
No. Do you know who Tugboat is, though?
So who won for the men? You didn't say that.
Shinsuke Nakamura.
Who?
Exactly.
Japanese
Shinsuke.
wrestler, the King of Strong Style.
The King of Strong Style?
Yeah, he delivers some of the meanest chops and...
Pork chops.
Yeah,
Really
no, like total, like he will. When you watch you look at somebody after one of his matches, you can tell if they've been through a fight with him.
Okay.
The bruises are on there.
Gangnam Style?
So Julie then emails us, how do you go about picking the beers for the show each week?
Well, JL, you already said it. You go for the
BOGO. If there's a BOGO, we go with it. If I find it on sale and it intrigues me, we go with it. Other than that, I'm a total beer snob, and I will pick out whatever I think is the most creative or whatever that I think I would like. Sorry, guys, I'm totally going by my preferences. The only time I switch it up is when Chris looks at me and goes, we've had too much of this style of beer for a while. Can we try and change it a little?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Try to gross me out. Sometimes I'll tell
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I'll ask suggestions from people on what we should try, but it's mainly off of what I like to drink. And if we really did that a lot, it would be IPAs every week.
But then you think in the almost year of development of this podcast, Chris's taste buds have now started to encompass some.
I know his
It
IPAs
has.
have gone from 0 to
know.
1 to I think we got a 3 out of him.
Yeah. And I went, we had a sampler, went to St. Augustine, and I had a sampler, and I picked a stout in my sampler.
Oh, man.
An IPA, a red, and then a nice safe lager.
I definitely think when I've picked them up, it's been either label or just ridiculous. Like, the ridiculous, the better. The naming.
I've only picked 2 that I've asked JL to do. Well, one was going to be a Christmas present for him, but we did it for the show. That's only because it was named Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then the other one was a request because of the Yeehaw.
Yeehaw!
Dunkel was
Yep.
so
the
good.
Erdinger Dunkel was a
Yeah.
request from you.
Yeah.
I found those.
That's
on-
my only input.
The most creative one that I just looked at something and went, we need to try this because it was just out there was the Neapolitan Milk Stout. Nope.
And we're still talking about that a
We are
year
still-
later.
And then I know Gary, I'm going to speak for Gary's behalf, but I know he goes on label a lot of the time.
Oh, yeah, he's
Oh,
total
Gary's
label.
all about label.
Yeah.
I know that because if we have a beer duel, he just wants to win the label challenge.
Yes.
Which I didn't realize was a category until Gary made it one. So,
I must beat GL.
Because I started rating the labels.
yeah, you did. You started rating the labels, and I think Gary went, shit, I can't win in taste for the beer, so I'm going to win on the label.
Well, as soon as we try everything Clown Shoes has, he's going to be out of label.
I know, he is totally out of labels, too.
Does he get it for free, do you think? It's like, support my brewery, yeah. Well, just
Here's some popcorn.
That would be nice. Well, I think that's it. We're at our time.
Where do you
So
find us?
soon?
You find us everywhere. Get a podcatcher, type in Podcast 42. You'll get a bunch of other podcasts on their 42nd show, but we'll come up like 4th or 5th in that.
Yes.
You can't miss the red and yellow of Podcast 42.
No, we stand out. I listen to us on Spreaker. That's the best format. We're also on YouTube. Did you know that?
No.
Spreaker feeds to YouTube.
Oh, so we're now on YouTube?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to YouTube us.
Nobody listens to podcasts off of YouTube, so it's not.
Yeah, but if we recorded something, then I can look at Nicole and see, like, see, they did watch us try that beer, so shut it.
No, we're not videotaped on YouTube. It's just audio.
Not yet.
Fine.
We'll add the secret clips on.
It's like the one thing she's ever held over my head.
Video
Yeah, because I
recording?
screwed up saying something one time, and now she picks on me about it all the time.
Oh, well, she's not here. Catch us in our Facebook group, the official Podcast 42 Facebook group.
And when you join, we'll ask you a question. And what you're going to say is anything, because we just want you to join.
Yeah.
We are 550.
No, we are 660 counting.
Yes.
Wow, when did they took another 100 jump this week?
665, I think.
Oh, see, I checked earlier. It was 664, but I just wanted to say 660 and up because you know what? In the over hour that we've done this, we could have gotten that 6 to 7 to make us over 670.
Actually, right now we're at 666.
We are the number of the beast!
We're the devil group.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Oh, I'm going to close off the group now just so we can stay at that number. Because the inner metalhead in me is just going, yes, we're staying at that number.
If you want to email us a question, podcast42show.
That's number 4 and number 2, like actually go numerically because otherwise, Nicole will just correct you every time.
She's the keeper of the email, and that's at the Gmail.
The Gmail?
Yeah, podcast42@gmail.com.
And then if you want to catch all the links, podcast42show.wordpress.com. That's it. That's all the promotion. We're on Twitter, too. We're everywhere. Just type in the name.
Yeah, one of us will respond.
Somebody will respond.
You want us to try a beer, we'll try a beer. You want James to review a movie, he'll review a movie if he can.
If it's available for free, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I said if he can. If he can.
I'm not paying, unless you want to send them to me in the mail, and then we'll give you Chris.
You have a red box James can use. He'll use it.
That's right. Just send them your passwords.
Yeah, send us your... If not, it's all good. All right. Well, thank you.
Who are you?
I'm still James, and I have a giant peach.
We've been meaning to ask you to put that away.
Well, if he's got a giant peach, I'm JL, and I have a giant beer cooler.
And I'm Christopher DeVos, and I'm often joked about that I'm Christopher Robin. So I've heard it.
Oh, bother.
I've heard it.
Did you find your pot of honey for Pooh Bear?
I did.
Bye. Bye.
You are no longer listening to Podcast 42.
Some of the stuff you just heard might have been embellished, made up, or just plain incorrect. In other words, don't use this show to write a book report with. You will get a bad grade. Just like all the hosts.
But I'm not done yet.
JL's Beer Cooler is written and performed by Cremo. Cremo is an award-winning actor and musician. For all things Cremo, including more great music, visit Cremo.com. That's spelled Craymo. He is on Twitter at Cremo. Facebook, just search Cremo Music, and also on YouTube under, you guessed it, Cremo.